When you look at the title of the conference, Refrain, promoting SRHR in a time of growing populism, I think that is exactly what it's all about, and it seems to be very timely also to discuss it, because people, what they face in Europe, in their own country, but also in the international policies, is much more pushback. All the things we took for granted and we thought that were sort of normal and accepted are under discussion. And we see the same thing, of course, happening in many countries in Africa and in Asia, with on the donor side, the developments in the US, but that goes much broader in the whole world. So there's a lot of pushback. So we need to be much more prepared on how we actually deal with that.
What we see today is a major paradigm shift. This is not a backlash, but a major paradigm shift as far as gender equality is concerned. And gender became a buzzword. It's a symbolic glue. It glues together certain concepts, actors, and agendas. And that's why if somebody is opening the newspaper or looking at the net, finds that there is an abundance of gender equality talk, what is behind this is actually a socializational, hegemonic fight for trying to redefine the content of human rights and to rethink the symbolic imagination for the future. This conference actually faces a major challenge in a very important historical moment, how those women's NGOs which are supporting reproductive rights should find their space in this particular moment to fight for those rights.
Even though the focus is on populism and its impact, there are other factors that are driving opposition to sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights. And we need to analyze them all carefully, because then we have the best way to respond to the challenges and make progress.
Coming from Mozambique, which is a very poor country, we have to find strategies where we can really minimize the impact of the gag rule. No matter which country, which person, which president, for us the most important is to put life in first time.
Realize that everything is kind of intersectional. They're all issues that we're facing are linked in terms of like racism, xenophobia, LGBT rights, and also economic inequalities. But how do we do that is why things like this happen here.
SRHR is one of our lead thematic focus topics, and it helps to be part of thematic conversations that contribute to the narrative of SRHR at a time when we need to strongly hold the line and keep government on toes on being accountable to gender equality and women's empowerment, including SRHR.
I see that there is a backlash happening in Europe and all over the world, especially when it comes to women's rights. There are attacks on sexual and reproductive health and rights all over Europe, and I'm here to show my solidarity with all those organizations who are standing up for our right to our own bodies. And I hope that we will become a very strong network in order to counter these attacks and to fight for even more access to sexual and reproductive rights.
I think civil society is a good connector between what a government can do, and a government has a certain advocacy role, but of course also a financing and a policy role. But if we really want those good intentions to have an effect on the ground, very often in difficult circumstances, you need organizations who have the man and women power and the knowledge to make it happen.
We had Statistics Denmark in the panel, who presented this new initiative where they are inviting for a broader cooperation on the SDG data and measurement on indicators. And I think that's really an important message to share, because Statistics Denmark has acknowledged and recognized that they cannot deliver all the data from Denmark on their own, so they need our inputs. And of course we need to learn from them on their technical capacity.
My messages here is mainly actually regards youth engagement, particularly about around the topic of populism and engaging youth audiences, particularly young men and boys as well, around issues around toxic masculinity, around issues of challenging these constructs that kind of affect not only young men and boys, but affect women and girls as well. And issues that we're here to discuss are particularly around how do we engage young people around the issues that particularly are facing, and that probably now is more important than ever to talk about sexual and reproductive health and rights in the current climate where far right's on the rise. There are far right role models, there are minority groups who are getting radicalized, including LGBT far right, and so how do we tackle this?
We will not stop fighting. We'll continue our fight, and our umbrellas are ready. We will never be the same after black protests. Polish women are empowered and feel responsible for women from all over the world, because we received so many words of solidarity and support from European women as well as women from all Europe, all countries in the world. So that's why we feel responsible for them.
We won't stop. We don't accept any more compromises, especially when there are no compromises, because women, as every person in the world, have right to decide about their own bodies. So my body, my choice, as you can see on my t-shirt, which is a official Brussels Black Protest t-shirt. We protest, and we protest for us and for all women in the world all together. So let's hope we win sooner than we think.
One of the take-home messages for me is that we should go back to our core values, and that is actually really framing what we do. And yes, the evidence is important, but they're linked to these core values. And I think that is something that we have to translate into action, because that is the other ambition. Not only talk, not only exchange, but really come to an action agenda.